I got to say, when you signed on to play Fletch, were you familiar with the Fletch novels already, or were you introduced to the character through the Chevy Chase films?
Both. The correct answer is both. I was introduced to the character through the original film, and then immediately was so taken by it that I wanted to find out everything I could. And in a pre-internet era like the 80s, you had to go do that kind of work at bookstores and libraries around town. So that's what I did. And I found that not only was that movie based on a book, it was based on a series of books, and that there were 10 other novels that I could read. And I was very, very happy as a 14-year-old comic book fan. I can see some of those books behind you. I probably own some of those.
That's great, because I got a question about that.
I was very happy to get to read even more adventures of I Am Fletcher.
Yeah, well, actually, now that you brought that up, when we spoke earlier for Top Gun, you told me you've been reading comic books since you were a kid. So knowing that, what's the most valuable comic book you own? It could be emotionally if you want to go there.
Well, I have an original. It's in pretty good shape. Of the 4 original Wolverine miniseries. It came out in the 80s.
Yes, I have those.
I have an original of 4 or 6 of the Elektra Assassin series. I have Daredevil there. I have a lot of John Byrne Daredevils, a lot of Bill Sienkiewicz stuff.
This first appearance of Bullseye right here.
There you go.
That's what that one is. Yeah.
I have a lot of old X-Men stuff from the John Byrne era. I've got some John Byrne Thor. I've got a lot of good stuff. I got a lot. It's all packed away nice and tight and airtight in my closet, but I haven't revisited it in a while.
That's amazing. I mean, you told me last time about how you almost played Mr. Sinister, and I'm like fingers crossed. Like they're going to reboot that X-Men series for Disney, and I'm like, man, I hope John gets to play something. I know you can't tell me anything, but
fingers crossed. Yeah, that's all I can say about any of that stuff.
I understand. Over the last 20 years, you've built this incredible filmography, and I'm curious if there's one thing that you've done that you really love and you felt like it didn't get the attention it deserved.
I mean, I've done quite a few movies like that. I think the one I can point to the most is probably a movie that I did that I loved, that people loved, that got to see it, but so few people got to see it. It was a movie called $1 Million Arm that nobody saw because it debuted, or it premiered opposite Godzilla, I think, or something. But it literally got stepped on at the box office. But I still get people coming up to me, especially dads, coming up to me and say, like, man, I watched that movie with my kid and I love that movie. It's so good. And I agree. I was just one of those, sometimes people see it and sometimes people don't, but if it's good, people find their way to it. So that's the exciting world we live in now.
I was hoping you were going to say Shrek Forever After, not because it didn't do well. I just thought what a stretch for you to play an ogre.
An ogre named after a shoe.
So one last question, we'll bring it all the way back around to Fletch. Is there, you talked about how you were a fan of the novels. Is there one particular novel, if this one takes off, that you're like excited, you hopefully we'll see it, adapted next?
Oh, we're looking at a couple things. There's a lot of potential. I get very nervous about talking about future projects for fear of jinxing. So I will respectfully and politically say I no comment.
Roy, oh my God, man, it's been so long since I've seen you.
Hang on, man. I'm checking out your background. What we got? Last Jedi, Spider-Man. Okay, all right, go ahead. Hey, how you been, Chris?
Good, man, good. I think we both got to give Chuck Johnson at Summit Comedy a shout out.
Chuck Johnson is the reason that my career did not falter for 7 years when Los Angeles would not book me for Jon Hamm movies.
He is the best college agent in the biz, right? No one I'd rather go to Guantanamo. Yeah. He's amazing.
Good guy.
Yeah. Roy, before taking on this role, did you have any idea you'd look so rugged wearing holster straps?
I don't know what it is about wearing like a shoulder gun strap, but it just adds 5 years to your life, and it adds 5 years to your posture, 10 years to your face. And then they give me a baby. I'm also a new father. And
I disagree.
One of the hardest things.
I thought it made you, like, it kind of pulled your traps look bigger. You just looked manlier to me, not older. You look.
I grew this for the role, bro. You know me. I don't have facial hair. And then they're like, you got to play a cop and he's grizzled and he's stressed. And I go, okay, well, maybe that means facial hair. And then I tried to grow this and it still won't connect. It's been a year.
I have my girlfriend.
4 more
I can't
hairs.
go right here either. My girlfriend has to like paint this in sometimes. Just a little makeup brush, thicken it up.
I do that for my husband too.
Guys, so when signing on, were either of you familiar with the Fletch novels, or were you introduced to the character through the Chevy Chase films?
I was sort of familiar with the source material, the Gregory McDonald novels, and that's what a lot of our movie is based on. So that was very exciting to go back to the business.
I mean, like most people, I didn't know that the source material was a book during the Chevy Chase era. It wasn't until many, many years later that I, like, when you find out, like, some BuzzFeed list, and you're like, this movie, did you know this movie was based on a book? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And when I got cast in the role, I immediately went back. Number one, I went back to the OG Fletch in that book, and then read the Confess Fletch book by Gregory McDonald. And, it was nice to know what the North Star was, but it was also, a relief to know that they were really trying to do something different. My character in the book is an Irish cop who talks with I had the audiobook, thick accent. Thick Boston Irish accent that I won't even attempt to impersonate right now because it'll make somebody angry. And I call the director, Greg Mottola. This is after they cast me. I go, hey, man, I couldn't help but notice that dude is white and Irish. How you want me to play this? Because I'm not sure. I'm not Jamie Foxx. I can't just transform
into a white guy.
Actually, that's a good point. Like
Jamie Foxx to do it.
In the book, the characters, that's Gregory McDonald's other most popular character, Flynn, and his partners Grover, and that's basically Monroe and Grizz for the film. Since they had their own novel spinoffs, is there like any interest in the spinoff with Monroe and Grizz?
If the people demand it.
We ain't got to wait for the people. I'll demand that myself. And the people can jump on board after that.
If anyone can get it done, Roy can get
absolutely.
It done. Yeah.
We're starting at Fletch.
I mean, they are an odd couple.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's Fletchverse. Yeah, we got to start a Fletcherverse.
Everything's got to have its own universe now. I mean, it's a franchise.
Yeah.
So Roy, last question. You've worked on Better Call Saul, Space Force, Murders in the Building, just to name a few. You've had the opportunity to work with all these comedy legends. Any particular comedy hero of yours that you've been able to work with who's maybe exceeded your expectations?
Oh, Steve Martin jumps out.
I was hoping that's what you were
Short.
saying.
And because at their core, they are still performers. They're still stand-ups, Steve Martin for sure. And I cannot explain it, but stand-up comedy and live performance, there is a brotherhood or sisterhood to that no matter what generation you got on the train to do that job, there is a shorthand. And I sat down with, Steve Martin and Martin Short when we were, rehearsing Only Murders. And the moment he knew I did stand-up, it was like we'd known each other for 20 years. And it just, immaculate professionals. And I think that there is something that remains to be said about people in this business who have been around for decades, who are still gracious and still treat people with respect. There's people that have been doing anything of significance less than 5 years, and they are terrible human beings. And I wish nothing but the worst on them, which is why I was also very happy that Jon Hamm was cool.
Roy, you've been so gracious with me. Speaking of that, over the years, I miss you, and I've loved doing shows with you, and so congratulations on the movie. Congratulations to both of you, and here we go for the Fletch universe.
Good to see you, old friend.
Yep, thank you guys. Hello, ladies. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Hi.
Let's start off with an easy one. Favorite comedy whodunit?
Ooh, favorite comedy whodunit, like murder mystery?
Oh yeah, murder mystery.
Oh, the first one that comes to mind, but I guess it's Clue.
Oh my gosh, I was just gonna say that.
I recently rewatched it, so it's like stuck. It's still freaking brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
When signing on, were either of you familiar with the Fletch novels, or were you introduced to the character through the Chevy Chase films?
I was introduced first through the Chevy Chase films, and then the books, and then this.
Yeah. I didn't know the Fletch movies. I watched it, but also important to note this was based on the book, because there's a series of books by Gregory MacDonald, and this was based on the book Confess Fletch. And so the world kind of was built around that. So that was kind of how I guided it too.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, obviously, I watched
no
the
idea.
Chevy Chase films back in the day as well, but I didn't know that there were so many novels. So I mean, I was just talking to Roy Wood about that, and about there could literally be an entire Fletch universe if you wanted to. Now everything's got universes. Is that something that you guys would be down to jump on board if more Fletch fans wanted to see that?
Yes,
we want to
without
see.
a doubt.
There's so many places to go. It could be Fletch in Australia, Fletch in Vegas, Fletch in Morocco. Fletch could go anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah.
Is there any particular Fletch novel that you'd want to see adapted next if you had to pick, like, this is the one that I'd like to do?
The great thing about the Fletch character and the novel coming from the books is that you can really put him anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see him in modern times, like it's I would be very excited to see where, like, using current events, just placing Fletch into various
awkward things. It's all about
in the world. Yes.
Right.
Like,
right.
I just want to watch him unravel himself from like something insane of today.
Yeah.
Annie, I want to tell you thank you personally, because if it wasn't for you, I'd have no idea that Jamie Dornan could sing. So thank you for that. No, I wanted to bring up the fact that you've worked on so many comedy movies now. I mean, Bridesmaids, This Is 40, Bad Moms. I mean, the list goes on and on. Is there any particular comedy legend that you've been able to work with who sort of exceeded your expectations of them?
Oh God! Wait, first of all, not to go back to Jamie Dornan, but I gotta go back.
Let's always go back.
He can sing. He can dance.
Mm-hmm.
He can dance.
Just a man of many talents.
He is a comedian. Yes, he's a man of many talents. There are many things, that Jamie Dornan can do that we were so lucky to have a front row seat to. But oh gosh, a favorite comedy that is a hard one to come off the cuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Well, people that I've met in person that I have been kind of blown away by. One is Tilda Swinton.
Wow.
She's I mean, I aside from her, like, her incredible, everything she's done cinematically, but she is such an incredible comedian, and she is such a funny person.
Dude,
but as far as working, I've probably encountered many people that have exceeded my expectations. Some maybe not so much. I'm just kidding. No.
Start that list. Just go on that.
People that I was like really excited to meet that were like, just like, I don't know. Never mind. Or they like use my head as a place to hold their cup. No, I'm just kidding. But no, there've been many people that I been excited to meet, and I just wish that's a hard one. If you give me 2 seconds, I can think about it. Let's move on, and then I'll think of something.
Actually, you know what? I think I'm out of time. So I think
we're out of time. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. I as a stand-up comedy fan and I just love comedy, and I just wanted to know, what of your heroes you really enjoyed meeting and thought they were fantastic. But I mean, you've met a lot of great people, so I totally understand why it's hard. It's
usually unexpected. You meet. It's usually an unexpected thing. Sometimes you think I've been surprised by people that I actually hadn't expected to be a certain way to be like quite like life-changing people. And that's been probably the best part for me, is that the ones that I didn't expect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mike Myers. He's right there.
I know. It's so scary. Oh, this way.
Michael Myers.
That way, the other way, yeah.